which is kind of the last hurrah. And I think one of the last chapters of your book mentioned this. Frank Skeffington, who's Spencer Tracy, played by Spencer Tracy. You get that sense. Early in the movie, he's sitting in front and open the doors, and there's the public coming into the governor's house, and he's ready to meet whoever wants to meet him. I think you get that. I get that sense from Curly too. That just because I'm governor, I'm not isolated. It's the governor's. The governor is there for the people, and that's what you're.
He took on a very tough personal kind of relationship with everybody around. Lots of people really loved him because, again, he'd be the only one. I related in there how I was at the home of his widowed Gertrude Dennis Curley. She was married to him. She married him in the 30s. His second wife, Mary Curley, had died. And she told me that of the morning when a lady came to the door in the house in the Jamaica way, the house with the shamrock shutters, bang, bang, bang. She said, my God, I didn't know what was happening. It was, I want to talk to the governor. Because once you're the governor of Massachusetts, you're forever the governor. And she wanted to speak to him. And she said, I went and I saw him coming down the stairs. I said to him, should I call the police? No, we don't call the police. And then the lady came and he opened the doors of his little library and he brought her in and sat her down. He talked to her. I'm told he gave her a few dollars and then opened the door. She was transformed, Mrs. Curley told me. She says, she looked as though she owned the house. She walked by me as though I were the intruder. She said, and she was, thank you, Governor. I enjoyed that conversation. And she was reconstituted as a result of this action, this personal attention from Governor Curley. And when he's out of office by this time, but Mrs. Gertrude Dennis Curley told me, she said, he told me, he says, all that woman needed was somebody to give a sympathetic ear. Somebody she has no one. And times are tough for her. He saw life pretty much for what it is. Everyone experiences adversity. And he knew it. He experienced a ton of adversity. There's one other little anecdote there. When I was talking to her and I was talking to his stepson, Richard Dennis, who's an attorney still in Boston, when we were talking, the two of them said that Curley would always say, I hope nobody thinks that because of whatever I have had to experience in my life, that I have not had a very good life. I'm grateful for my life. I gave it my best, and I have no complaints about it. Now, most of his children, I don't know, nearly all of them predeceased him.
Yeah, right.
I think the only two living at that time were George Curley and Francis Curley. And but he wanted it to be known that he had in fact had a very good life, and he didn't want people to feel bad for him. I think he had some kind of, although he laid it on a little thick about, where was I? Saying the rosary. I'd have to really argue with him, but I doubted it. But he, nevertheless, I think he had an abiding, deep confidence that it's all part of the plan.
Right. Well, you mentioned that he comes upon a time once in his life where he's broke,
Oh, sure.
And he owes a lot of fees or taxes, whatever it was, to the city of Boston or to the Commonwealth, and the public show up.
Oh, sure.
And,
that's true.
Giving him change, or and after time he got himself back up on his feet thanks to the people that he did take the time to listen to, and I'm sure you experienced it as a public official. Whereas many times that's all people want, is just somebody to listen to.
Oh, of course, yeah. And it's amazing how they, I don't know, it says a whole lot. Curley had great, I think, judgment. There's a great political philosopher, and he was a member of the Parliament in England, Edmund Burke. I like Edmund Burke very much. He's a conservative fellow. But he said this about judgment. He said it's very, very important. He spoke of it as something you should never sacrifice. You've been elected in a representative democracy to exercise good judgment. And his words are this. He said, your representative owes you not his industry only, but his judgment. And he betrays instead of serving you if he sacrifices it to your opinion. Once again, your representative owes you not his industry only, but his judgment. And he betrays instead of serves you if in fact he sacrifices it to your opinion. And I think Edmund Burke is making a point very clearly that you can't give up the judgment. You do have to listen to people, and you do, and you can, I'm sure, adjust your point of view based on the fact that they have to be considered and their ideas considered. But let us just say everybody in the world wanted to go over a cliff. Then, and you recognize it, and you know that this is the wrong thing to do. You have a huge obligation to do exactly the right thing. Right. And then hope you can explain it to people.
Right, right, and that is a challenge as a public official. You know, we mentioned briefly the movie that came out in 1958, I think. Yeah. And that was the year he passed away, so he probably would never even experienced this himself, even though it wasn't his name, but it was, you know, loosely based on the James Michael Curley character himself. Does his descendants, I mean, are they very familiar with the whole Last Hurrah and the fact that it was based on James Michael Curley?
Oh, well, he knew. Oh, okay. You know, he saw the book, and at first I think he said something. I'm putting this into the hands of my lawyers. And he thought that this was you know, it was just an attack on him or something, and he was going to sue him for life. But it didn't take him long to realize that Edwin O'Connor had immortalized him in the person of Frank Skeffington. And if you remember The Last Hurrah, Skeffington, he's near the end, and he takes his, I think, well, someone's nephew, Adam, and he takes Adam with him.
It was the publisher's nephew, the newspaper guy.
That's it.
Yeah.
And he takes him around, and Adam becomes more and more enamored of Skeffington. And his wife, his own wife, Adam's wife's parents hate Skeff. And there's a whole lot of that with respect to Curley. Even as I speak of him right now, I know people who would be standing up ready to give me a good argument about this. And I've spoken at the Massachusetts Historical Society and the libraries in Boston, and people have other points of view. But there's I think history is instructive, and they're interested in Boston's history. And he's a huge part of it. And also it's in his influence upon people. Clearly he had an influence on me. I must say this, when the person to whom I dedicated the book, Carl Thayer, taught us ancient Greek, he thought that the curriculum, the classics, Greek and Latin, the Athenians and the Romans, this puts us right in the same kind of learning experience as that of John Adams of Massachusetts, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison. Jefferson used to say, I thank God, he said, I get on my knees and thank God that my father insisted that I learn ancient Greek. And he loved what he, and so I must say, I'm not very good at it, but I certainly counted myself very fortunate to run into Father Thayer and to study these things, and they became in my life bigger heroes. And but it's only later in reflection that I come back to Curley, and I think I appreciate him more now. I think nobody ever doubted when Curley was the mayor of the city of Boston, he was the mayor. And if people came through the door, no matter how powerful they were, they could not push him around. I like that because he's elected. His name is on the ballot. And when we vote for him, it's better that we think we're voting for him. And we are, in fact, voting for him with confidence that he'll be his own person. And we see some of the unfair tactics of the press, and he stood up to that. And the press is never going to say, we don't like him because we can't push him around. He won't do what we want. I mean, because the press sees itself as the vox populi, you know, the voice of the people. Right. But Curley would say, no, The people who are elected are the voice of the people. You will certainly hear what you have to say, but you're not going to run us.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's a great book. I really enjoyed it. I love politics. I love history, and Massachusetts especially. And between James Michael Curley and William Bulger, there's 100 years of stories there between, he started in 1899. And when did you retire from the Senate?
I left the legislature in January of '96, but I had been elected in the year 1960.
Right.
So it's about 35 years, yeah.
So between the two, there's a long transition there. So it's interesting, and your personal stories that you kind of put in, it really kind of brings it to light as well too. So it's a great book. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate this chance to say hello to people back up here in this great part of the state.
Yeah.
Lots of friends up here. Many, many, many good friends this way.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Spend some time with us.
Thank you very much.
That is going to do it for this week's show. Again, this is a production of Ludlow Public Television. We're here at the Hubbard Memorial Library. And if you haven't, just catching the show in the middle of it, please tune back in and try to catch the entire thing. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you very soon.